OpenAI just dropped three things in the same week that completely changed how people use ChatGPT. And honestly, the AI world is still figuring out what to make of all of it. So let me explain why this week matters and what it actually means for you. Let us start with the thing that affects every single ChatGPT user right now. GPT 5.5 Instant just replaced GPT 5.3 Instant as the default model across the entire platform. Free users, Go users, Plus users, all of them. The model you get when you open ChatGPT and just start typing is now different, and OpenAI is not calling this a minor update. They are saying this is a real jump in everyday quality, and the numbers back that up. Here is the first big one. GPT 5.5 Instant produces 52.5% fewer wrong or made up claims compared to GPT 5.3 Instant on hard questions about medicine, law, and finance. That is more than half the hallucinations gone in one update. And on top of that, inaccurate claims in the hardest conversations that users had flagged for errors dropped by 37.3%. Those are the kinds of improvements that you actually feel when you are using the model, not just numbers that look good on a chart. And honestly, for a default model that hundreds of millions of people use every day, cutting hallucinations that much is a big deal. The math performance jumped too. On the AIME 2025 benchmark, which tests serious math problem solving, GPT 5.5 Instant scored 81.2 compared to 65.4 for the older version. That is a nearly 16-point jump on one of the hardest publicly tracked math tests. And on MMMU Pro, which measures how well a model understands images and thinks through them, the score went from 69.2 to 70. The science benchmark GPQA moved from 78.5 to 85.6. So across math, image understanding, and science, the default model you have right now is meaningfully better. Now here is where it gets interesting beyond just the numbers. GPT 5.5 Instant is also shorter. Responses are using 30.2% fewer words and 29.2% fewer lines to say the same thing. OpenAI specifically said they wanted to kill what they called unusual emojis and those annoying follow-up questions the model keeps asking when you just want an answer. If you have ever noticed that ChatGPT sometimes adds bullet points and bold headers to a simple question that did not need any of that, this update is designed to fix exactly that feeling. Now, here is something most people missed. There is a new thing called memory sources. For Plus and Pro users on the web, the model can now pull in context from your past charts, files you have uploaded, and even your Gmail if you have connected it. So, if you told ChatGPT 3 weeks ago that you are a vegetarian and working on a setup, it can remember that without you saying it again. And the memory sources feature lets you see exactly where that context is coming from so you can delete or correct anything that is outdated. That is a privacy safety valve that most people will probably never use, but it is good that it exists. In fairness, the big warning here is that these are all OpenAI's own internal numbers. Third-party testing is still catching up, and as one outlet pointed out, lower hallucination rates can actually make users more trusting of answers that are still occasionally wrong. The model is better, but it is not perfect. And GPT 5.3 Instant will stay available for paid users for 3 more months before it gets retired, which at least gives businesses time to test before the switch is permanent. For developers, the new model is available in the API right now under the name Chat Latest. Now, let us talk about the voice models because this part of the week honestly caught people off guard more than the default model swap. OpenAI dropped 3 new tools inside their real-time API at the same time, and each one goes after a completely different problem that voice app developers have been struggling for years. The first one is GPT-Realtime-2, and this is the most powerful of the three. It is OpenAI's first voice model with what they are calling GPT-5 class reasoning. The context window expanded from 32,000 tokens to 128,000 tokens, which means it can hold much longer conversations without losing track of what was said earlier. Previous voice models would often forget context mid-session, which made them feel broken in long calls. And on a Big Bench Audio, a benchmark that tests how well a voice model reasons through difficult problems, GPT Realtime 2 at high effort scored 96.6%. The older GPT Realtime 1.5 scored 81.4% on the same test. On audio multi-challenge, which measures how well a model follows instructions in voice settings, the jump was from 34.7% to 48.5%. And one clever design choice in this model is that it says little pauses like let me check that or one moment while I look into it while it is reasoning. So users do not sit through dead air and assume the system is broken. The model can also run multiple tool calls at the same time, meaning it can check your calendar and look something up at the same moment rather than doing them one by one. The pricing is $32 per million audio input tokens and $64 per million audio output tokens, with cached input tokens dropping to $0.40 per million. The second model is GPT Realtime-Translate, and this one is basically what sci-fi movies always promised. It translates spoken speech live as the person is talking across 70 input languages into 13 output languages. No waiting for the speaker to finish, no buffering between sentences. It even adjusts the tone, pitch, and speaking style of the translated voice to match the original speaker, so it does not come out sounding robotic or flat. Here is the crazy part on pricing. GPT Realtime-Translate costs $0.03 per minute, that is 3.4 cents per minute. Enterprise translation tools have historically charged many times that amount, often bundled with slow pipelines and poor latency. OpenAI coming in at that price point puts companies like DeepGram and 11 Labs on alert because the math suddenly becomes a lot harder for them to compete. Vimeo already ran a demo showing live dubbing with no preloaded captions, fully generated in real time.
On is improving the core flows in Vimeo to just make the everyday experience of using it much easier.
Expérience quotidienne d'utilisation bien plus simple. Par exemple, uploader un fichier. C'était en fait le tout premier changement qu'on a fait. Rendre possible le glisser-déposer d'un fichier sur la page d'accueil pour l'uploader.
Eine Woche später haben wir dasselbe auch für einzelne Ordner in eurer Bibliothek hinzugefügt. So könnt ihr eure Videos in einem Zug hochladen und sortieren.
新しい動画があります。以前は大事な情報や動画のオプションの多くを見るには、その動画を個別に開いて。
But now it's so much easier to do things with it straight from the library page.
The third model is GPT Realtime-Whisper, which is the simplest to explain but probably the most widely useful. It is live streaming speech to text. As someone talks, the transcript appears in real time. The old Whisper model was batch-based, meaning you had to wait until a speaker stopped or paused before it would process anything. This version works continuously. The price is $0.017 per minute, half the cost of the translation model. Use cases are obvious: live captions for meetings, automating notes as a conversation happens, voice agents that can understand users without turn-by-turn pauses. The real-time API also officially left beta this week and became generally available along with two new voices called Cedar and Marine. Now we get to the most controversial part of the week. OpenAI has confirmed that ads are now live inside ChatGPT for free and Go plan users in Australia, New Zealand and Canada. This follows the US pilot that launched in February 2026. The UK, Mexico, Brazil, Japan and South Korea are next. And yes, Sam Altman is the same person who called ads a last resort and a momentary industry back in 2024. But here we are. Here is how it works. When you are chatting and you ask about something like recipes, you might see a clearly labeled sponsored result below the AI's answer. For something like a meal kit service, advertisers submit their campaigns and the system matches them to your conversation topic, your past chats, and how you have responded to ads before. Advertisers do not see your actual chats or personal data. They only get back big picture performance stats like how many people saw or clicked the ad. Ads are blocked from showing up near health, mental health, or politics topics. Users under 18 do not see them, and you can dismiss, manage, or turn off ad personalization at any time. Plus, pro business, enterprise, and education plans have no ads at all. So, if you pay for a higher tier, this does not touch you. But for the hundreds of millions of people on the free version, this is a shift. The financial picture explains why. ChatGPT now has around 900 million weekly active users. OpenAI is on track for $25 billion in annualized revenue, but is still projecting roughly $14 billion in losses in 2026 because running AI at this scale is extraordinarily expensive. Their internal target for ad revenue this year alone is $2.5 billion, and advertisers are clearly interested. Nearly 80% of small and medium businesses said they wanted in when asked in early advertiser survey. Though the original 200,000 minimum spend requirement kept most of them out, OpenAI has now cut that down to 50,000 and is building self-serve tools so any business can buy ads without going through an agency. CPM prices have also dropped from $60 at launch to as low as $15 to $25 depending on the buyer. That is where we will wrap it up. Drop your thoughts below on the ad situation specifically because I want to know where you stand on that one. Make sure you are subscribed, hit the like button, and I will see you in the next one.